What's up everybody? Marcus here with Daily Adaptation, and today I want to show you a few stretching and foam rolling exercises for your glutes, your hip flexors, and your psoas. So what you're going to need today is you're going to need a foam roller, a back buddy or a Theracane, or we can get away with just using your hands today. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, we're going to be rolling each muscle group for 2 minutes. All right, so we have 2 minutes on the glute, 2 minutes on the hip flexor, 2 minutes on the psoas, and then the same thing on each side, right? And then at the end of it, we're gonna statically stretch each muscle group for 60 seconds. Let's go ahead and start off with the hip flexors. So what you need for the hip flexors is the foam roller. We're gonna take that foam roller and bring it up above the quadriceps, right up to where the hip starts, right before the abdominals. And what we're gonna do is, mine's the vibrating foam roller. It's something I like to use in this position, or all the exercises for foam rolling. And what we're gonna do is we're going to roll very slowly down towards the quadricep, but right before we get onto those quads, we're gonna come right back up to that hip flexor. Once you get to that point, once again, we're gonna rock slightly to the inside and then come back to neutral, and then rock slightly to the outside, and then come back to neutral, and then come right back down like you're going to be rolling down towards the hip. And as you come down towards the hip, you're going to rotate slightly to the inside and come right back up. So you can see it hopefully. As I drop down, I'm kind of pivoting and I'm rolling to the inside edge, and as I come back up, I'm rotating that hip back to neutral. Do that a few times, and you're also more than welcome to rock to the outside just like that. Nice and smooth back and forth. There's not just one muscle group of the hip flexors. I'm just trying to target that area that most people experience discomfort. There's several muscle groups that flex that hip, and we're just hitting just a few of them right now. So again, take your time. Biggest thing here is the ability to stay relaxed, to try to stay as loose as possible. If this area tenses up as I'm rolling, I'm not gonna be able to get into that hip flexor area as effectively. So the more you can keep that leg relaxed as possible and not straight out like this, the better. A few advanced techniques here. If you find a painful spot, sit right on top for about 20 seconds. You can also slide side to side, which feels really, really good in this position, opening up that hip flexor. Or you can bend that knee, raising the hip up just slightly, and let it come right back down. It's a really commonly tight area on people. Really, really feels good when you do the exercise. Opens up the hip, and if you're a runner, you'll notice a big improvement in your ability to take larger steps. Okay, that's been 2 minutes. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So switching sides to the left side here. Same thing, high up into that hip. Right leg is out to the side. Keep your abdominals in tight. My back does look like it's arching here, but I can promise you that I'm drawing the abdominals in, and I'm able to keep at least from pinching with the lower back. It's not always going to be perfect, but as long as there's no pain during the movement, you can get away with it. Plus also, if your glutes are a little bit bigger, it does make the arch look a little bit more pronounced. But I promise you, I'm actively drawing the abdominals in. I'm rocking back to the inside here, and as I rock back to the inside, I'm going to slowly roll down that quadricep just a little bit, come right back up to that neutral position, maybe do a little side to side right in that pocket, and then even rocking to the outside edge of that hip in this position, and then rock right back down, keeping the leg as relaxed as possible. Oh, my timer stopped. I'm assuming that's a minute in. So remember, as you roll to the inside edge, you rotate the hip open, and then as you come up, you close it right back down to neutral. So I'm going to rock open just like this, allowing my foot to externally rotate and the hip to externally rotate, and then roll right back up, right into that pocket, that space between the quadriceps and your abdominal wall. About 20 seconds left here. Again, you can use those techniques either sitting right on top of a spot here, sliding side to side, feels really good in this position, or bending that knee and lifting up the hip slightly, right? So bending that knee and then from here, lifting up the hip in order to stretch it out a little bit more by engaging the antagonistic muscle groups, which are the glutes. And time. Speaking of the glutes, let's go ahead and roll those out now. So for the glutes, what you're going to want to do is you're going to sit on top of your roller. I guess I'll do it this way. Bring that roller so it's parallel to you. I'm on to my right glute here in this position. I'm going to cross my right ankle over the left knee. My right hand is going to come down. My left hand is going to come onto the knee in order to stabilize. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly roll down or up towards the top of the hip and then slowly right back towards the glute, just like that. And maybe one of these times I'll actually start my watch. Okay, 2 minutes, here we go. So play with the angle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knee, rotate it in slightly, and now I'm on a slightly different angle of that glute. Back and forth, searching for little painful spots. Change the angle once again, coming down. So everyone's going to have a different experience with the roller. Some people are going to get on this and you're not going to feel anything, right? Couple things that could be happening. First thing is you're not relaxing enough to be getting deep enough into the roller. Second thing is you may not have a lot of built up tissue in that area and you might not have a lot of adhesions. And that's a really good thing, but typically you can find something. So there's other techniques you can use with the roller to get in a little bit deeper. And I'll explore some of those other techniques in other videos. But for this video, we're just going to focus on this glute in this position using the foam roller. So again, feel free to go as far as you'd like. Maintain stability through the hand, through the shoulder. If you find a painful spot, a couple different ways to work with it. You can sit on top of it just like this and not move, just completely relax. You can slide side to side in this position, or you can take that knee and you can press down into it and then come back to neutral. And then press down in it and pull that knee in, back and forth, just like that as well. All right, so that has been 2 minutes. I'm simply gonna switch sides. So switching over to the left side, I'll show you the other angle here. Crossing the left ankle over the right knee, taking the right hand, putting it on top of the left leg, and now I'm simply gonna roll up and down on that glute for 2 minutes. The slower you move, the better. So if you find yourself moving fast, like I was moving fast just there, slow it down and breathe and take your time. Searching out those painful spots. Basically, try to roll anywhere you want to on your butt, your glute max. What you want to avoid is obviously rolling on the bone, so don't roll on the tailbone. Your body will generally tell you what's good pain and bad pain. You want to avoid any sharp pain while rolling. It all should be kind of like a dull ache. When you do find pockets of pain, you know, again, no sharp or shooting pain, but it should be relatively uncomfortable in most of these areas if you're tight and there's work that needs to be done. We have about 1 minute left here. You can roll on these areas for as long as you like. If you're rolling on an area for too long and then you go for a run or you are doing something like playing a sport, sometimes it can destabilize the joint, the muscle groups that are attached to those tendons that are attached to the joint. And so what I would recommend, instead of rolling for 2 minutes, maybe roll for like 30 seconds on the muscle group to kind of warm it up to a minute, and then move on from there rather than spend too long on that area. So most of this stuff with the rolling and the static stretching is always going to be done after exercise. Okay, that is 2 minutes. Let's go ahead and move into that psoas. So I'm going to do both examples here. I'm assuming you probably don't have a cane, so I'm going to do work with my hands. So with the psoas, this is a tricky one, but we're going to try our best to get it. I'm going to raise this up just a little bit so you can probably see my head and upper body. So we're going to take a kneeling position. Yep, a little bit more. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So taking a kneeling position, just like this. Left foot is out in front, right leg is in back. I'm going to find my belly button, right? Find my oblique, which is here on the side. Halfway in between that, the abdominal wall, right? Right in that little space right before the oblique and the abdominal wall meet. I'm going to press in with my hands, turning them kind of into a knife, but again, turned in like that. I'm going to push. And when I push, I'm going to kind of wiggle and move into that area, and then I'm simply just going to lean to my side and start pushing into that area. So here we go. I've got my left foot forward, my right knee is down. I'm going to push right in between that gap with my hands. Press in, kind of push in a little bit. I'll find a painful spot, and then just kind of lean into that spot. Now you may not be able to get too deep in here. Massage therapists will be able to do a lot more, but what you're essentially doing is you're looking for that psoas, which is a deep abdominal muscle that's involved with hip flexion. So it's part of the hip flexors. And once you find it, you're simply just going to kind of lean in different directions with that knee forward. With the hands, it can be kind of exhausting because the fingers have to remain strong the entire time. With the back body that I'm going to demonstrate on the opposite side, it's a little bit easier to get into. So the reason I included this one today, I could have easily just skipped this and gone on to something else, but I really do feel that that psoas contributes to a lot of lower back pain. So if we're able to kind of open up this area a little bit and get relief through that deep abdominal muscle, that oddly enough is one of the only muscle groups in your body that doesn't actually attach to a tendon. It connects right from a bone to a bone up in your rib cage. But if we're able to kind of release this, we're able to get a lot of tension out of those hip flexors and out of the lower back. All right, so that's been 2 minutes right there. I'm now going to use the tool to get into my other side. So this has 2 ends to it. One is a rounded end and one is a very sharp end. I'm going to use that rounded end and go right into that same area I was discussing before. So now I have a tool that's going to be able to go in there a little bit more, and I can leverage it by pushing into my hands. So finding the belly button, finding that spot, I'm going to press into that psoas. Yeah, big difference. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to lean, come back to neutral, bend into the front knee a little bit, come back to neutral, back and forth. You can really feel the origin and insertion of this muscle group. And what I mean by that is I can feel where it's coming from and where it's attached to. So I can feel my hip, and I can feel that spot up in my rib cage. Try to relax the abdominals as much as possible as you pull in. It doesn't need to be ultra intense. Just apply enough pressure to where you can feel it. If you don't have this tool, I highly recommend getting it. This is what's called a back buddy. You can typically find these on Amazon. I think I paid $20 for it like 6 or 8 years ago. And it's obviously, it's just plastic, so it's gonna last a lifetime. And I keep finding, oh, there we go, more and more uses for it. One of the simplest tools that you can use, especially when working with the back, the neck, the chest, and the traps. Big difference with using this tool. I'm able to actually feel that psoas very, very intensely as compared to doing it with the hands. You can get in there with the hands, it's just a lot more strenuous. Okay, that's been 2 minutes. Okay, we've got 2 muscle groups that we're gonna be stretching now. So we're gonna be stretching hip flexors, and then we're gonna be stretching into the hamstrings. So there's lots of different ways to stretch your hip flexors. I'm gonna do this one from a kneeling position. There are tons of ways to do this. Sometimes people are very controversial about this one, but I try to do it so that you're gonna have at least some activation, you don't arch your back. So without further ado, let's go ahead and stretch out the right hip flexor. We're gonna put the right knee down, the left foot's gonna come forward. So really, really important here, I'm gonna keep my abdominals in. So my back is flat in this position. I'm almost into what's called a posterior pelvic tilt, where I'm tucked in a little bit in this position. And that's to get my hip flexor in a neutral spot so my back isn't arched when I go into that spot. So neutral position, foot is out in front, knee is down. I'm going to draw the abdominals in as tight as I can. Right now, I feel my hip flexors. I'm stretching this position. I feel it specifically right here. If you're not able to do that, don't bend this too deeply into your knee. Draw your abdominals in, tuck your tailbone. So I'm pulling my abs in as hard as I can. Once you feel that stretch, right, you feel it right up here on top, squeeze your back right glute on. You're then going to be activating the antagonistic muscle group to help stretch out this one here, and then bend into that front knee to increase the stretch. Now, that's about as far as I need to be going in this position. I feel the stretch intensely. So now the next thing to do here is I'm now going to lean slightly with my upper body to my left and push my hips off at an angle up and to my right, and just simply breathe. So I'm holding this stretch a little bit longer than a minute because I went into a long-winded explanation here. But when we get to the other side, it should be a little bit easier. Keep squeezing your right glute. Keep drawing your abdominals in. Don't go too deep. And here we go. Slowly push out of the movement. Switch out your legs. So now left knee is down, right foot is forward. Tuck the abdominals in. Bend into the front knee until you feel the stretch. Squeeze the left glute. And then lean to your right, pushing your hips off to the left. And breathe. 1 minute. You may feel the stretch from your quadricep, from your knee all the way up. That's okay, it just means that your quads are rather tight. Or it also means that maybe you're bending too deeply into this knee. Tuck the tailbone, again, squeeze the glute. Do not let your back arch. This should be flat, if not posteriorly pelvic tilted, not anterior tilted where it's arched into your back. So keep squeezing the antagonistic glute to get a greater stretch through that hip flexor. Feel free to bend into that knee as far as you'd like, as long as you can maintain the neutral spine. Keep squeezing the glute. And time. All right, let's go ahead and stretch out the glute now. So we're gonna do a figure 4 stretch. Simply lay on your back. I should be able to see it from this angle. Lay on your back, cross your right ankle over your left knee. You're gonna reach between the legs. So now I'm reached between the legs here, and I'm gonna pull in. At the same time, I'm gonna be taking this right knee and kicking it away from me at the same time. So here we go. I'm gonna pull that leg in, keep your lower back on the ground. You're gonna feel a strong stretch here. And then if you wanna add to the stretch, kick that top knee away from you and pull in at the same time to get a greater stretch in this position. If you feel knee pain, you can dorsiflex. This foot right here that I'm wiggling, you can dorsiflex and just flex it up like this. And that will activate the anterior tibialis, which will help to protect your knee in this position. So 1 minute total, 30 seconds in now. Big deep inhales, exhales. Keep kicking that knee away. Keep your hips on the ground. Yeah, stretch feels good. Final 3, 2, 1, and time. Okay, simply switch. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Make sure your hips are both on the ground. Reach through, grab behind the right knee, and pull that leg into your chest. Again, if the foot or if the knee is hurt in this position, dorsiflex that foot. If you want to make the stretch a little bit harder, you can kick away that knee at the same time pulling in. And just remember to breathe deeply. Big deep inhales through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Or through the nose exclusively, it's up to you. Ten seconds. All right. Okay. So we foam rolled 3 areas today. We did the glutes, the hip flexors, and the psoas, and then we stretched 3 areas. We stretched the hip flexors as well as the psoas at the same time when we were leaning to the side, and then we stretched out the glutes. All right, everybody, so this has been my lower body foam rolling and stretch routine for the glutes, hip flexors, and psoas. I'll see you here next time. Again, I divide the body up into 5 different areas so that you can get each muscle group each day without having to do all of it in one day, so it's a lot more digestible. Okay, all right, see you later.